Sorry about that. I had to turn on the waiting room to prepare for the otter slaughter. You're on mute, sir.
Oh yes, no problem, Sage.
How are you doing? How was your vacation? How was your trip?
It was amazing. It was lovely.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Did I tell you where I went?
I you may have, but I think I forgot.
No.
So
Well,
I
I went to Bali, which was amazing.
oh yeah. You
Have you
can't
ever
go wrong
been?
there. I mean, come on.
Can't go wrong. Yeah, yeah. No, it was lovely.
Wow. Were you there for just vacation, for like work, a combination thereof, or what was it?
I went for like a spiritual singing retreat.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was very cool.
Wow.
Yeah,
What is
that
this?
was sort of the
What is a
draw.
singing retreat? Is that like
Um, it's like a devotional singing, in the Qawwali tradition. It's like
okay,
Sufi singing, chanting.
that's cool.
Yeah, yeah.
How
So,
how was the impact to you coming out of this? How do you feel coming out of it?
very rejuvenated and very inspired. Bali was very inspiring, very beautiful, very it's like paradise. I was really impressed at what a hotbed it is for yoga, wellness, just there's resorts and spas and yoga places everywhere. But where my class took place was in this yoga compound, which was just amazingly designed and built over 17 years. So I just had a lovely time. I was able to really
Cool.
disconnect and forget about work and life over here and just getting re-situated.
Hell yeah. Recharge the batteries, right?
Yeah, yeah, recharge the batteries. How have you been?
Yeah, I've been well. I've been well.
Good.
I've had to focus a lot more on my marketing company because when you're trying to bootstrap a regenerative company, you have to make sure you have enough revenue on the whatever's doing the bootstrapping, right? But it's
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
good for the most part. It's kind of slow in the summertime anyway, so it's
hmm
it's hit or miss with a lot of stuff.
I hear you.
Yeah. Hello, Jenny. Hello, Eckhart. Good to see you both.
Likewise, sir.
Hello.
Jenny, I don't know if we've met before. Good to see you. Where are you coming from?
My name is, yeah, Jenny Nichols. I'm with Go Green locally. We're kind of a nationally based initiative for community action. So,
Oh, cool.
yeah,
Very cool. Well, at some point, I'd love a one-on-one. I'd love to learn more about what you're doing and how you guys are making your impact.
yeah, love to have it.
All right, everyone. So, Jenny, as I think you're one of the only new ones here. Vikas, I don't think you've listened to any of these before, but we typically are going to wait until about five after for everyone to come in. So everyone come in, relax. I'm removing a lot of the read AIs and all the note takers right now, so that's why the waiting room's up. But we'll kick off here about five after.
Sounds
And
good.
this will give time for the meeting before the regenerative governance meeting was before this, and they were talking a lot about sociocracy and sort of consent-based governance. And then they're trying to talk about this. It's so hard when you have these governance discussions and they're like, well, how do we change minds through governance? And you can't change minds through governance. It's through the facilitation of said governance. And that feedback loop is how you can really create that long-term changing of minds. But I feel like we get distracted so much on the governance because we're so used to having like strong hierarchies. But I think when you're dealing with regenerative networks, I don't think you need that heart of a governance. I think you need sort of a self-organizing system and that feedback loop for that. So I'm really excited to see what came out of the conversation. I was sort of bummed. I was like, oh, I got to hop over to something else.
Mhm.
But they will all be here very shortly, I'm sure.
Nice.
There's Nikki. Hey, Nikki, you're on mute, ma'am.
Hello.
How are you? How'd the governance meeting turn out? How did it finish up?
It was great, sir.
It was great. Oh man, I had Fred from Africa, from permaculture in Uganda, was trying to get some support. So I directed him to your open office hours. So you're gonna have someone new that's never been to your open office hours before, and he's really
Oh,
trying
that's
to.
not true. He's been in my open office hours more consistently. Well, not in a while. He
Fred?
hasn't been there in like the past couple. Yeah, Fred and I have. Yeah,
Oh,
I've
he had
helped him
just said
raise
no, I
money and
hadn't been
everything.
there. So maybe I don't know. I don't know what was going on, but yeah.
That's weird.
So he will be joining. He's looking for collaborators out of Africa, ma'am.
Okay.
And he
Okay.
wants to do a summit as well.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
All right. Was the other meeting still going or were they wrapping up?
They were wrapping up.
Okay,
I
good.
did ask a big banger right towards the end that kind of made everybody circle back around and rethink things.
Oh, did you drop a grenade in before you left?
Yeah, about red flags and green flags in
Oh,
sociocratic processes. Yeah.
that sounds like an interesting follow-up. Well, Nikki, we have someone new here, Jenny. I don't know if Jenny and Nikki, I don't know if y'all have met, but Jenny,
I
Nikki is kind of like
think
the
we have.
GRC glue that holds us all together, and she's like the one that's in all of these meetings everywhere, and she's the one who holds space for us during our open office hours to just come in and either commiserate or brainstorm or whatever else. So if you don't know Nikki Wall, you should, because she is all things regeneration to include advocacy and everything in the middle.
Thank you. Hi. But I think
Nikki, you want
I
to
have
introduce yourself?
Awesome
You
to
can
seen
come
meet
off
you.
the mute if
before.
you want. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, awesome to meet you,
Okay.
Nick.
Thanks.
I
I'm
see the emails, but yeah.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I write the newsletter too. But yeah, so I'm Nikki Wall. Um I out of nowhere got offered a position in 2023 to come into GRC and help get it together. And so I'm slowly but surely working on that while also building my own thing again. But yeah, so I'm a long time activist, started when I was 13. I'm 47 now, just to put it into context. And I've started with environmental activism, have stuck with that, but also added like social justice as well at the age of 19 and moved into the regenerative space because I didn't like all the palliative stuff that I was doing that wasn't making real systems change. And yeah, so I got invited in to help rev this place up, and here we are. Here we are now. Originally from Los Angeles, currently living in Costa Rica, and just made friends with a chicken this morning. In addition to all the other animals I've made friends with over the past few months. But yeah, now there's a chicken that's really curious why the dogs keep coming and hanging out with me. So that's it for now.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
All right, everyone. So we have some people trickling in. I will stay on that and make sure I get everyone in here. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the waiting room because I think we're not going to get any more bots.
Yeah. I'm only here for like 5 more minutes. Just wanted to see your faces and say hi and hang out a little bit. So I got a job to go to. So
Oh, well, I hope you have a good job then, Dennis, on that one.
thank you. Yeah.
Good to see you. Hey, Colleen. Hey, David. Good to have you. Hello, Tristan. All right, everyone. We're 6 after. I'm a minute late here. So in chat, I've added the speaker sheet for Vikas. So if anyone wants to look, find more information about neighborhood forests, a link to his website is in the speaker sheet, as well as some of the questions we're going to ask today. So as always, this is our anti-talking head series where we have someone come on very briefly, talk about what it is they're doing to give everyone the context of why we're all here. And then we're going to go into a question and answer session. First and foremost, the questions that I've put into there are just seed questions. So all of your questions are even more important than the ones we've put in there. So if you have questions, drop them in chat and I'll weave those in and make sure we get some answers. If you drop a question and it's too confusing, I might just call you up and say, "Hey, David, your question's confusing. What do you mean? And can you come off and mute and talk directly?" And we'll feel it that way as well. So without further ado, I'm really excited to bring this interview. We interviewed Alex Pop a little while ago, who's doing Permaculture Party, and Alex is like, "Oh my gosh, you have to talk to this other guy." He started doing something on Earth Day that went viral, And now now this guy gets pictures of kids every year standing next to the tree that's growing along with the kid. And I was like, well, that's interesting. Tell me more. And as I went down this journey, what a great way to spread impact at such a very simple level and at a very, very engaging, and it draws people connection to nature in a very different way than you would through your kids and the engagement through your kids. So I love this. I'm so happy with this interview. So Vikas, if you could please come off and mute and give everyone like a good 5-minute intro into what you do and why we're here. And please include all the great stuff about all your impact work, please.
Yes, Sage, thank you for having me. Hi, everyone. I'm Vikas. I'm a co-founder of Neighborhood Forest. And yeah, I've always loved trees, ever since I was a little kid. Some of my happiest memories were just hanging out in a tree. And my love for trees really deepened when I was in university in Iowa at Maharishi International University. I got involved in environmentalism and heard about a project that was started by a man from Ohio. His name was David Kidd. He started the first American free tree program. This idea of raising money, buying tree seedlings, giving them away for free to community members. And he ended up planting millions of trees across Ohio. So we adopted his program in Iowa, not to be confused with Idaho or Ohio. um, and that's when I planted my first trees, and I got to see little seedlings grow up over years and decades. And 15 years into my corporate career, I decided to rekindle this project here in Minneapolis, where I've been living for quite some time. And that's how Neighborhood Forest started 16 years ago. And it started very small with a few schools here in Minneapolis, including my son's school. He was in kindergarten at the time. And not much happened really for the first 10, 11 years. A couple times thought about giving up on the project. My wife really encouraged me to keep going, and I'm glad I listened to her, because a couple of years later, in 2021, the program really hit a tipping point and ended up going viral among librarians across the country. We weren't even targeting librarians, so it was all very unexpected, but really wonderful as well. So since then, the program has really grown, and we're now in every state, plus Canada and Mexico. We gave over 100,000 kids their very own tree this past Earth Day. And we're well on our way to reaching every child in North America. And then we're going to go, rest of the world, which has really been our mission from the beginning. So that's a little bit about me and Neighborhood Forest. And I'm really excited to be here and then to meet each of you and then to, answer any questions you might have.
That was awesome. Thank you so much. So let's jump right into questions. So can you take us back to the moment where Neighborhood Forest was reborn? I don't want to say born, because I think initially you sort of birthed this out of something you were learning from somewhere else, but you rebirthed this, and then you had a viral moment where you kind of like your birth became something bigger than you. And I'd like to talk about both those moments too. So if you could, when this was reborn and what happened in that viral moment and how everything changed from there, please.
Sure. Yeah, so as I mentioned, the seeds for this really started when I was in university, when I was in my early 20s. But then, when I graduated, I was studying computer science and was sort of torn, like, do I follow my passion of environmentalism or do I get a tech job? Well, I ended up getting a tech job and moved up to Minneapolis. And this project was always in my heart and mind, kind of in the back of my mind. Like, how could I keep going with that project? I thought about restarting it many times over the years, but never really did anything about it. But the real turning point, the real rebirth, happened in the spring of 2009. We were in the heart of the recession and people were getting laid off. And I ended up getting really sick, kind of a stress-induced illness that kind of knocked me off my feet. And I had to take a month leave off of work. And I was like bedridden for a month. I'd never been so sick in my life. And I was very weak. And but it was a real great wake-up call, because it gave me time to think about my life and career. It was a really like a divine reset for me. And so while I was sick in bed, I thought a lot about my life, my career, and I thought, geez, I don't really love what I'm doing, and I'm not really passionate about the industry I've been in. And so yeah, I just sat there and thought about, like, okay, well, when was I really excited about waking up every day. Like, when was I the happiest in my work and in my life? And my heart and mind kept going back to college and the tree project I was involved in. Just remembering the happy kids getting their trees and the thought of beautifying neighborhoods and seeing the trees grow up. I was like, man, that was really when I was the happiest. Like, I loved that work. And I kind of was kicking myself, like, geez, what if I would have just stuck with it? You know, I lived in my mom's basement and did that work right out of college when I didn't have a family and a mortgage and all these things. So I was kind of wallowing in this regret and despair, you know, uh, as I'm sick in bed. And then a day or two later, this quiet whisper within my heart, I feel like it was literally the voice of God, just sort of spoke to me and said, you know, it's never too late. You know, you're only 37 right now. Why don't you kickstart this program now? And maybe when you're retired, this will be a full-time thing. It'll keep you busy and it'll be meaningful and purposeful. And so all of a sudden, my sadness and sense of regret turned into excitement and possibility. And so I went with the whisper of my heart and I called a few schools, including my son's school. I called a few businesses, and like that, while I was sick in bed, Neighborhood Forest was born. We didn't end up giving trees away until the following April. Yeah, I like the hearts. Thank you. Didn't end up, our first year of giving away trees was the following April, in April of 2010. My son's school was one of 4 schools that participated in Minneapolis. And yeah, it just felt great to be giving trees to kids again. And I felt a sense of, it was just a side hobby project, and we didn't have a website even for the first couple of years. Everything was paper and pen, and then it just slowly grew from there. It grew very slowly. We were maybe adding, once we got a website going and people could find us on the internet, we were maybe adding 10, 15 schools a year. So by the 10-year mark, it had grown so slow and steady. I just didn't think that at this pace we were going to really fulfill the mission of reaching every child. And I was getting busy with some other things. We have another venture, my wife and I, and it was keeping me busy. And I just was kind of burnt out. And I thought, well, let's just call it a day. We gave it 10 years, and my wife got very upset. She's like, what are you talking about, man? You can't give up now. You've come this far. You started this before, climate change was a thing, or before people even cared about these things. And now you're just gonna shut it down because it's not growing fast enough. She like kind of had to smack me upside the head. And I was like, okay, fine, we'll just keep going, whatever. I had kind of had this mopey attitude. And it was around that time, it was 2019, about the 10-year mark, where once my wife convinced me to kind of double down and keep going, I actually was combing through my emails and saw like some emails from 5 years prior that had come in from parents who had taken pictures of their kids with their tree. And I was like, oh, this is so cute. I'm gonna, send a message back to this parent and ask how little Johnny or little Mary's tree is doing and how they're doing. And very quickly I got these current photos. They responded and they're like, oh yeah, James was one child who I had a picture of from 5 years prior. And his mom was like, oh, James loves his tree, checks on it every day. Here's a current photo. Yeah, here's some of these photos, Charlotte, and James. These are some of the photos that came back right as I was thinking about quitting. And when I saw these photos, I just wept, I was like, oh my God, this is like working. What am I thinking? Like, it doesn't matter how fast the program is growing. Even if we give one child this priceless experience of planting and watching a tree grow, it's worth it. And so that my wife, along with seeing these photos, really like changed my orientation, got me back in touch with the reason why I started this in the first place. And then the pandemic hit the following year, and we shrunk even more because a lot of schools bowed out because of the pandemic. But that didn't deter me. I was like, doesn't matter, we're gonna keep going, come hell or high water. And then in 2021, coming out of the pandemic, there was a library in Michigan, coincidentally named after a tree. It's called Tamarack District Library, a tree that we had given away a few times in the course of our giving out trees over the years. And they reached out and they're like, hey, we're not a school, but we'd love to participate in your program. Can we enroll? I'm like, well, as long as you give trees to kids, yeah, why not? We've never had a library reach out to us. Sure. And then within a few days, they're like, this is a great program. Can we tell some other libraries about this in Michigan? Like, we have a co-op of libraries. I'm like, yeah, the more the merrier. Within a few days, 5 libraries in Michigan signed up. I was like, wow, never had so many people sign up so quickly. Like, what's going on? And then, then in the days that followed, libraries from all across the country were signing up, Colorado, Florida. I was like, what is going on here? Well, it turns out this Tamarack District Library, the woman there who enrolled with us, went on a Facebook group of thousands of librarians and shared about our program. And so that was it. Ever since that moment in early or late February, early March of 2021, our program has just grown exponentially. And we enrolled more schools and libraries in a matter of days in 2021 than we did in the first 11 years of our program. That's how fast we grew. And so very quickly, we had to figure out how to grow our budget and grow our infrastructure and find trees from various nurseries to fulfill this exponential growth spurt that we went through and have continued to go through since then. So, in 2021, we gave away 18,500 trees to kids. That was about a 4 or 5x growth from the prior year. And then now, we've grown 5x since then. And so, we've had to grow up really fast. And luckily, we had done this for 10 years and sort of laid a lot of the groundwork and the infrastructure where we were able to really rise to the occasion. And we brought on some great team members and invested in our infrastructure and attracted some wonderful partnerships. And we've just been very fortunate, and I'm grateful to God for his grace to do this work and for really sending the right people at the right time to make this what it is and what it's becoming.
If that's not an inspirational message, I don't know what one is. That was pretty impactful, buddy. And what a great story. What a great story. Let me move into some more questions. And y'all, if you have any questions, if you're like, oh my gosh, I definitely want a question based on what he was just saying, throw it right into chat and we'll weave you in. So I'm gonna skip over the scaling intimacy one and talk about children as stewards. So what have you observed as about how children relate to trees and place after planting their own? Any stories that kind of stand out amongst your feedback from the children?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, we go often to the schools to give the trees to the kids locally. We encourage our volunteers to take pictures and share stories, and for parents to take pictures. And we just get a lot of love, from our volunteer coordinators and from our parents, just a lot of gratitude. We love this program. Our kids love the trees. They can't wait to plant it and care for it. It's the first tree that they're ever planting. And then you see the pictures come in and we ask the parents, can you share a little bit about watching this tree grow up, what does it mean to the child? And we get so many beautiful responses of like, our son or our daughter is so amazed that the tree is now bigger than them. They planted a garden around the tree. They want to grow up and study something in environmentalism. That we get so many of these anecdotal stories and just a lot of gratitude, because they're getting this tree for free. Our whole program is free. So there's just a lot of love and gratitude from the many countless families and volunteers that are part of our program that just really appreciate what we're doing and see the value in it. And one year there's one library in Texas, Tom Green Library, in Texas. They've been like some schools and libraries get higher participation in their community, right, when they're promoting the signups of trees. But this one library has given away thousands of trees. Some communities just take to it more than others. And one year, our volunteer coordinator said, this is going to change our landscape. Your program is going to change the landscape of our city. We've planted so many trees here. So that feels really good. Like, and we're starting to see the trees that we've given away to kids from Google Maps, like Google Satellite. We can see the trees growing up over time, which is super cool. I mean, we collect address information from the parents when they sign up. So we've actually pinned a tree on a Google map. I think it's on our website. You can see the forest growing, but we can actually see it from a satellite perspective as well. So like stories like that, where we're not just impacting children or a school, we're actually impacting neighborhoods and communities all across the country. We can zoom in on these neighborhoods, see these trees growing. and they're feeling like, yeah, in 10, 20, 30 years is going to change the landscape. That feels really good, you know, and that's going to contribute to cooler towns, cooler neighborhoods, increasing the canopy where it's needed most, you know, capturing carbon, cleaning pollutants, all the benefits that trees provide. But then, you know, really what it's about is that child having a gift that keeps on giving and growing. You know, what better gift to give the kids? So yeah, it feels very rewarding, and grateful to my wife for inspiring me not to give up, and for, you know, serendipity and good fortune and God's hand, and really allowing it to take off.
That whisper is important.
Yeah.
Thank you for your wife. So next one, Dave Winslow put one in chat. So how do you explain tree planting in a regenerative frame?
Mm-hmm.
And you
Yeah,
kind of
well, when
did,
I think
Victor.
of
So you were just doing it some, but anyway, so
yeah, well, when I think about regeneration, I mean, there's probably different definitions. But when I think about myself and humanity, I think about like, are we cleansing the environment or are we polluting? Are we cleansing more than we're polluting? Are we replenishing more than we're depleting? Right. And so when I think about regeneration, I think that you know, trees are regenerative in so many ways, right? Especially urban and residential trees in beautifying our neighborhoods, cleaning the air, cleansing, right? They're these cleansing agents in our environment. We can't live without them. And the benefits they have in communities is huge, both social, emotional, environmental and economic benefits of trees. To me, that all speaks to regeneration and replenishment and cleansing. And then, you know, hopefully we're planting the seeds in the hearts of the children to become better stewards of the planet, and to inspire them to love and care for a tree. You know, when you see a big tree out there, big urban boulevard tree, if you've never planted a tree from seedling and seen it grow to maturity, it's hard to have an appreciation for what that tree has been through to get to where it is. That's what I learned when I was planting trees in college. Like, geez, it is hard for a little seedling to survive. There's so many forces working against it, you know, little rabbits wanting to eat it, getting mowed over, weed whacked. You know, it takes forever for a little seedling to become a mature tree. I think we don't have a full appreciation of that, and that's why the world is where it is to some degree, you know. And so if we can kind of shift that just a little by giving kids, families this experience of seeing what it takes for a tree to grow, I think that's part of the regenerative
I
framework.
think you said something in there that, like, you know, seeing or planting the seed within the child so the child can be a steward as well in there. That kind of really resonated with me because at the same time, it's one single action, but as that tree develops along with the child's development, you can see the parallels and the hardships and all of those things that it takes to make something beautiful and grow like that. So I can definitely appreciate that. David, I'm going to come back to your question in just a second here. So the next one is Earth Day tree planting is now a rhythm in many communities. So now zooming out over just sort of seasonal and civic rituals and regeneration, what do you feel like the power for those rituals and creating those community type rituals?
Yeah, yeah, I think it's very powerful. I mean, we've intentionally timed our tree giveaway every year around Earth Day and Earth Week. Earth Day being April 22nd, Earth Week being the 7 days following Earth Day. Arbor Day is the last Friday in April. And then we've also inaugurated Neighborhood Forest Day as April 26th. That's our founding day, and it's in the heart of Earth Week between Earth Day and Arbor Day usually. So yeah, I think we've ritualized the idea of celebrating planet, celebrating kids, celebrating trees, coming together, having events, whether it be Earth Day, Arbor Day, or Neighborhood Forest Day, or the whole week, and to celebrate things like generosity, abundance, the goodness in humanity, unity. I mean, what's amazing is we're serving every demographic in America, every state, rural, urban. You know, trees have a way of bringing people together, and we want to nurture that power of trees. so that we can see past our differences. And
Because what type of trees are you putting out there? Are you delivering sometimes food bearing trees as well? What are you promoting as far as the trees and when you give these trees away?
yes, yeah, we aim to provide native and or fruit bearing trees in all the regions that we serve, and we usually mix it up on a state by state basis each year. So yeah, we've given away tens of thousands of fruit trees and other native trees, pines, firs, maples, oaks, cedar, all different types of trees.
And you do this based on bioregion?
Yes.
That's that's an extra level of sort of like white glove touch. I mean, to really sort of promote that bioregion. Good on you.
Yeah. No, it's important for our trees to be suitable for the regions they're being planted. So like this past year, we gave away 15 different species of trees. We've given away pomegranate trees, fig trees, black cherry trees when we think about different fruit trees that we've given. Um, a lot of kids also don't have a yard to plant a tree. So in the last couple of years, we've launched an indoor plant program for kids who live in condos or apartments so that they have a little piece of nature that they can care for. So we're giving away succulents. This past year, we launched our mini food forest program, and we're inspiring kids around principles of permaculture and taking care of a little plant guild, an herb, a fruit, and a vegetable guild that they can care for either in their home or in their yard if they have a yard. So yeah, the program is branching, pun intended, blossoming in different ways, and we now are set up to really reach every child, regardless of their living situation here in the United States.
How do you see neighborhood forests, not just as a planting project, but as a systems level intervention?
Oh, I see us as a grassroots, tree roots, community-driven project. There's no barrier to entry, and that's what's allowed us to penetrate every community in North America, rural, urban, suburban. So I really see us as, yeah, community-driven, community-first organization.
Thank you. Moving over to one of Dave's questions here. Actually, real quick, while you're talking about all that, so you remove the barrier of entry, but how do you make the whole thing fiscally or financially sustainable?
Yeah, well, back to also to your systems intervention, I mean, I
Sure.
think that's the thing is like we're not really relying on any kind of like this isn't a government program. This is a partnership of private sector, education sector, and nonprofit sector coming together. Um, but it's a grassroots volunteer effort. It's volunteer driven, and people are doing it out of their joy of doing it. They're wanting to give back in terms of time and resources. So yeah, your most recent question again is,
How do you generate revenue
oh
to
yeah,
make the whole
revenue piece. Yeah.
long?
Yeah, so our program, it's a nonprofit, so we run on donations, and about 70% of our funding comes from corporate partnerships and donations. We have an increasing amount of funds that are being generated through earned revenue and like employee engagement programs, volunteer engagement. And then about 20% or so comes from small donations from individuals and families. We have over 10,000 families that have donated to our program, small donations, like $10, $15, and some philanthropists who've also donated, a larger sums of money.
When you scale though, I mean, when you all of a sudden introduce, 1,000 new trees or, or a couple libraries at a time,
Mhm.
that's at risk for fulfillment. So how do you ensure
Mhm.
that you can fulfill based on that?
Yeah, it costs us $5 to get a tree in the hands of a child, total cost end to end. So we generally have a sense of like, okay, last year we gave away 67,000 trees. So we know, how much money we have to raise. We also have a wait list of schools that are signing up every day, between now and January when our parent registrations kick off. So we have a good sense of, we're getting better and better each year of predicting how many trees are going to get requested from all of these communities. And so we just we just work to, raise the money. Luckily, knock on wood, we haven't had to turn any schools or libraries away since we had that viral tipping point. And we hope that we will never have to do that. If we continue to grow at a reasonable pace, an aggressive but reasonable pace, I think that we're in a good position to build the funding infrastructure to meet the demand. And again, if for some reason we do have to, keep folks on the wait list, we can do that, so that we don't overextend ourselves.
Do you ever encourage the local libraries and the schools to do their own sort of sponsorships so they can find local funding to help that local region so they can do whatever they need to do there?
Yeah, I mean, we do some libraries and schools are like, hey, we want to make a donation or we want to do a bake sale, and we don't discourage that. Well, we'll say, yeah, sure, that's awesome. We love that. We also do invite parents when they sign up for a free tree to donate or to buy a tree, which will fund a tree. So that's where a lot of our donations are coming from as
So
well.
it's not like a sponsorship for a local business that's sponsoring that library to do said project or anything
There
like
are
that.
some of that happens as well. A library will come to us and say, this business wants to fund trees for our library. Where should they send a check? So that does happen, but we're not necessarily driving that discussion. We want them to know, like, this is free and we want you to participate. We want you to have a good experience. The money will come, and the money has come.
I love it. I love it.
Mm.
So David's got a few questions in here. Let me get to some of this. So some of the prominent tree campaigns have gotten some pretty harsh critique, including that the trees just didn't survive. So have you had any blowback? And if so, where does it stem from and how have you handled that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, tree survival rate is something we get asked a lot, and we're very interested in that. So we do comprehensive surveys with all the parents who receive trees. Like I said, when the way our program works is a school, library, or youth group can sign up on our website, and they have to establish a volunteer coordinator at their institution to manage the program. And then between January and mid-March, that coordinator is basically sending a link to all the parents in the community saying, hey, it's time to sign up for a free tree. If you have a space to plant a tree, sign up for your kids. And they can sign up one tree per child, basically. So if they have 5 kids, they could get 5 trees. And so we're collecting, their address information and email information so that we can, one, email them planting instructions, care instructions, which are also on our website. Also the species that they're getting, so they know what type of tree they're getting. That usually we know in early April, just before the trees are arriving, right? And then the trees get shipped to the school or the library, and that coordinator then distributes them to the parents who signed up, right? They have a list of all the sign up, the people who signed up, kids and parents who signed up. So we have all this information so that we can follow up and stay connected to our parents and encourage them to share pictures and stay connected as the child is growing. So part of that is surveying them and saying, hey, has your tree survived? Has it not survived? If it didn't survive, why didn't it survive? So about 4 or 5 years ago, we did our first survey, and we were seeing about a 50% survival rate, which is actually very good for a mass tree planting initiative like ours. And what we found is that most of the trees that didn't survive were mostly dying because they were getting mowed over or eaten by deer. So if they weren't protected by a fence, that would significantly increase the chance of the tree not making it. So, part of our instructions are like, look, you got to plant it where there's wide open space. You got to water it. You got to put a fence around it. If you add mulch, even better. If they do those things, they're going to have an 80-90% chance of survival. And we've seen our survival rates go up from 50% to 60% in the most recent year, which is progress. So we're moving in the right direction. And I think a lot of that just has to do with them complying and learning. Like a lot of times we'll get a tree, we'll tell them put a fence around it. They don't. The tree gets eaten. They get a tree the next year, they put a fence around it, it survives, right? So sometimes they just have to learn the hard way. But yeah, our survival rates are very good compared to other mass tree planting initiatives. I think part of it is also you got one family and a child vested in this tree. So it's not one person planting 1,000 trees in some rural part of the country where, it's very dependent on rain and many other factors. You have one family planting 1 tree or 2 trees in their own yard. So they have the ability to watch it, care for it. But I think those factors, along with our educational materials, have contributed to kind of survival rates we're seeing, and we're going to continue to work on improving it.
Thank you. That's a great answer.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of barriers to growth are you seeing now? What kind of obstacles, structural, cultural, logistical, have you encountered along the way? And I imagine you might have hit a couple of those in your
Mhm.
growth pain points, of course, but what kind of things are you seeing sort of emerging now?
Yeah. Well, we don't have any challenges with growing enrollment because that's just spreading through word of mouth and people finding us. That's not our challenge. As I said, luckily we've been able to match the growing demand with funding infrastructure and human capital infrastructure. So we're doing pretty good at that. But I think that's probably the more challenging aspect is can we continue to scale our funding infrastructure to meet the growing demand? And I think we can and we will. We've attracted some amazing partners. You talked about logistics. That's a big deal. Like, how do you move 100,000 trees in a matter of a few days to 1,000+ locations? Well, a few years ago, UPS partnered with us. We sent them a cold email saying, hey, do you want to help us? And they responded. We started small with them with a pilot project in 2022, and they've grown with us. And for the last few years, they've done all of our shipping and logistics at no charge. So they get like hundreds, if not thousands, of UPSers to come together for a few days. We ship all the trees to them from our various nurseries. They unpack them, and they have this whole volunteer event where they fulfill all the orders. They're also major donors of our program. So they've been huge. And we have other corporate partners like them that are willing to step in as needed to fill any gaps that might be. Like, we're not, there's no one organization that's contributing more than 10-12% of our budget. So that's really good too. We're not right now heavily dependent on any one partner. So I think those are the key things, right? Diversifying our income streams, um, growing, prudently,
Mhm.
investing in technology and automation, which has been there since the beginning, and doing good work. If we do good work, people will tell others about it, and it'll just continue to grow. And so that's what we're focused on.
Dave has a question in chat here. How about giving away pigs as a bonus? And there's a link in there. How to turn forest into Silvio. How do you even say that, David?
Silva
Silver
pasture.
pasture. Okay, giving
Silvius.
away
I mean, I
pigs.
just figured it'd be like, the second you're like a graded kind of thing, like the parents that are really giving you a hard time, you give their kids a pig or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, we've tapped into this power of generosity, this circle of generosity and abundance mindset. And we are thinking about ways we can take our model to address other needs that are in communities, like maybe food, clothing, shelter. What if we provided free food, free clothing, free shelter? Like, take the same model of generosity around trees. How could we extend it? I don't know, there's an easy way to do that, but these are things we've been thinking about. How can we capitalize on the spirit of volunteerism at scale to do more good in the world? So it definitely opened ideas, and we're always thinking. We really pride ourselves on being an innovative organization that's entrepreneurial and innovative. And just like we started with trees, and now we're doing plants, and we're doing mini food forests, and we're doing fruit trees. We're starting to branch into permaculture principles. Um, yeah, Amazon started with books, and now look what they're selling everything. We start with trees, maybe we can branch into other areas as well.
I think the ritual about coming together at a set point every year for a limited period of time makes that so much more special. The
Mm,
ability to duplicate that amongst other industries
mm.
without the ritual, I think can become very difficult because
Oh
it
yeah,
reduces how
yeah.
special that is. So
Mhm.
that's a hard one, and I can see where you have to be very, very thoughtful to navigate through that
That's a good point,
without
Sebastian.
losing everything, of course.
Mhm.
Jenny had a question in chat. Jenny, I don't understand the question. Do you want to come off the mute?
Oh yeah. Was this that you said some type of service that generates a portion? Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
increasing
You got
amount
it.
of our
Okay.
That's a great question. Yeah. Um, what we're finding in working with corporate organizations is they don't want to just give money to a nonprofit. They want to actually get their employees involved, and they want to get their hands dirty, so to speak. So we found that we're able to attract a lot more partnerships and engagement and funding when we can give companies something to do. So volunteer engagement and employee engagement has been a huge new revenue stream for us. I mean, we're surprised. Like usually you think, oh, we need volunteers. It's so nice that you're volunteering your time. It's so nice of you. But what we're finding is companies will actually pay organizations money to create a volunteer experience for their employees because it creates engagement, it creates team building, it creates a sense of purpose and meaning that may be lacking in that organization. So
That's really profound. Jenny, that was a great question.
yeah, so what we're finding is that we need a lot of hands and feet building plant kits, delivering trees, planting food forests, right? And so we have all these things we need to have done, and companies will pay us, will pay any organization to create a volunteer experience. So that is a huge untapped area for us and for I think for any nonprofit wanting to make a difference.
I have a follow-on on that. Jenny, do you have a follow-on real quick before I ask mine on what he was just talking about?
Yeah, I love that. And my other question was, have you kind of contemplated Miyawaki forest, like kind of building from the community so the child is the one tree, and then slowly building kind of like a Miyawaki system,
Tell me
where
more about Milwaukee. I'm not familiar with it actually.
so by densely planting all the different layers of trees and vines and shrubs
Oh yes,
closer
yes.
together, they grow
Yes, yes.
faster and
That's right. I wasn't sure. Didn't realize it was this term, but yeah. It would be cool to create those small forests over time. That's something we haven't done. I know there's organizations that do this. There's dedicated nonprofits that are focused on this. But that's something we're open to. We could, those are the kinds of things we could do and branch into, but we haven't as of yet.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Great questions. Other questions or?
Sorry, I went down the rabbit hole looking up what the Miyawaki forest was on there. So my apologies. I was trying to get the information for everyone. Um, Let me ask. So my follow-on question for that one as well. How does that engagement look like? So you just said it, but how does it look like an applied practicality? Is it something that you will reach out to a business and say, "Hey, we're getting ready to do this thing here, and we're reaching out because we need support"? Is that a cold outreach, or is that through your connections and you let the connections be the advocates for you and they reach out to those local businesses?
Well, I think the genesis of this has been just when we've been out asking for money, right?
Mhm.
Like, will you give us money for trees for the kids, $5 a tree, whatever. We we have some companies that are happy to do that, but what we found is a lot of them were like, well, one company early on in our journey, like AMD, I'll just mention AMD because they've been a great partner of ours and they've really pushed us to innovate because one year they said, "Hey, we would love to give you money, but like, how can we get our employees involved? Can we give trees to our employees? We can't." And they helped us birth this idea of a plant one, give one program. So instead of donating $5 a tree, they're donating $10 a tree, which then funds a tree for a child in our program and funds a tree for their employees. So for the last several years on Earth Day, they were getting trees to give to their employees. The employees would have to sign up. And now we have several organizations who are doing our Plant One Give One program, thanks to AMD. AMD also was the one that challenged us and said, how do kids who live in apartments participate in your program? What are you going to do for them? And we experimented with a variety of different things, but they were the ones that helped us come up with this succulent concept of giving plants to kids. And at first we didn't know how do we fund it? What's the price point? And they were like, well, what if, they gave us ideas. They're like, what if we build these succulents and, you charge us for that, just the volunteer event? We're like, that sounds like a great idea, and then we're like, great. Once we piloted it with them, then we went to our other partners and said, would you like to do this? They're like, we'd love to do that. And then we just honed our process, the whole infrastructure, materials, pricing, and then what happened is then new people would hear about us, new companies, and they'd be like, hey, we're looking for a volunteer engagement. We're looking something to do with our employees. Now we're like, well, you could do the Plant One, Give One program. You could do the succulent program. Now we have the mini food forest program, and we have a food forest program. So there's another partner of ours, Chiesi, which is a B Corp company out of North Carolina. They've been wonderful partners of ours, and they are planting the first food forest on school grounds. They've adopted a school in in a kind of a lower income area near where their offices are, and they've donated plants, they've donated trees, and now they want to get their employees together to actually plant a food forest, a permaculture food forest on school grounds, and that's going to be happening on November 2nd. So again, another volunteer opportunity. Get your hands dirty, go outside, get the kids involved, make it a community event. So we're starting to do more of that. So it's just the, you come up with a concept. It's inspired sometimes by a partner, by a parent, by a school. You try it on a very small scale, you prototype it, and then you refine it. And once it becomes a refined, well-oiled machine or a well-mature tree, that's a better analogy, now you're ready to like propagate it, and grow the forest around this idea. But that's it.
That's great. And to bring me my next questions. So, guys, we're at 47 after, so we're in the last 15 minutes of this. So now we're introducing our new speed round. Haha, no one's ever seen this one before. So here's the deal. I'm going to ask a question, and I need you to limit your response to about a minute or so if you can. And if anyone has any follow-ons, we can schedule those one-to-one. So this is a way to get people scheduling some one-to-ones for you. So systems thinking in action. You were just talking kind of about this. How do you see neighborhood forest not just as a planting project, but as a systems level intervention? I think we talked a little bit about that, but now that you talk about all of the people you're connecting with, now I'd like to reframe that question to how you look at this as the whole system.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, I think, it's sort of, so say the question again. Something about this.
Well, you're doing a one-time thing, which could be transactional, right?
Mhm.
But realistically, you're kind of changing the system in a very kind of leaning forward and very simple way
Mm,
with a lot of ingenuity on ways you connect. So you're giving people the blueprint and all the engagement ways in which they can inject with you.
mm, mm.
How do you feel that this has now changed from just giving kids plants to now a systems
Oh,
level
yeah, yeah.
change across the whole United
Right,
States?
right. No, yeah, right. I mean, that's the thing. It started with give us money and we'll give trees to kids. And now it's become give us money and we will create an experience for you and your employees and the children that is it's an integrated experience. So you not only participate in the gift that you're giving the child, you can participate in the giving of the gift and see their smiles and joy and participate with them and get your hands dirty with them at the school. That's the thing, is we've become a bridge between corporate and education. We're this bridge, we're this hub, bridging all these different compartments of society together to create joy, beauty, and goodness. More joy, beauty, and goodness.
More enjoy
That's
your goodness. I love
yeah,
it. In
that's
a time of ecological collapse and cultural disconnection,
mm,
how do you think about place-based belonging? Gosh, that was a mouthful.
that is, yeah. Okay, let me see. Wait. Ecological, yeah. I mean, look, it is. The situation is very dire. It's in our face. Stuff the scientists were telling us in the 80s are coming to pass, right here in every community. Forest fires, floods, record temperatures. Yeah, there's no denying it. It's a very it's alarming, it's disturbing, it's creates a lot of anxiety and for all of us. It's a frightening situation for humanity. And there's this analogy, right? There's this analogy of the hummingbird or I don't know if it's a hummingbird or some kind of bird that lost its eggs to the sea. And, this hummingbird is drop by drop trying to move the ocean so that it can recover its eggs or what have you. Or um, and there's, a lot of birds and the other animals are like, what are you doing? You're doing the impossible. Like, you're never going to be able to move this ocean. But they just keep doing their thing. And then some birds and other animals get really inspired and they're like, oh my God, we're going to help. Even though it's impossible, we're all going to do our little drop. And then the story is that all the animals come and they move the ocean drop by drop, right? So that's the faith that I work with, that our organization works with, like planting one tree, even if we give a tree to every child in America, like, is that going to stave off climate change, there's a lot more that needs to be done. And we feel like in the process of walking this journey, maybe we can be part of something much bigger and inspire that we can stave off, collapse.
How has this work changed you personally?
Well, it's changed me so much. I mean, just the idea of patience, hanging in there, staying true to your vision, squeezing the love out of what you're doing, remembering why you start something, staying true to the why, and doing it regardless of the results. If you get attached to the results, sometimes you're going to have good results, sometimes you're going to have bad results. But if you focus on the work, the love of the work, and doing the work with a purity of intention, great things will eventually happen. And even if they don't, at least you did it with a purity of intention and love in your heart.
I
I think
love how
that's
you
the big lesson
eventually
for
will
me.
happen.
Yeah, this big lesson for me is I got impatient. I was too attached to the outcomes, and my wife really helped me reorient. And in doing so, I don't think it was a coincidence that things took off a couple of years after I reoriented. And so I think we all just have to do the work to the best of our ability. And again, the rest is in God's hands.
I love it. Love it. Are there any key partnerships or collaborations that you're currently looking for?
Always looking for more corporate partnerships, right? We're always looking for more partnerships with schools, libraries, and youth groups. I have a couple of links I can share where you guys can help us grow the forest. So this is a link to how a school, library, or youth group can sign up. I'm going to send this to everyone. This is our registration form online. And so you could send this to a school, library, youth group. If you know someone, they can sign up. It's free if they haven't currently signed up. This is also a coordinator guide that explains how our program works for the person who's going to be the volunteer coordinator at the school, library, youth group. And then, you can see who our sponsors are. And if you know people who might want to give to our program, there's a donation page on our website. We have an increasing number of people who have joined our Evergreen program where they're giving just a little bit each month, like even $5 a month. Like that's a treat per month. We're looking for more of those kind of smaller ongoing, so that can really help us scale and grow more predictably. And any other connections or contacts that you think we should know about or they should know about us, we'd love to connect and share our story, spread the joy, the beauty, the goodness, and keep growing the forest.
Couple more questions for you. You're doing
Sure.
awesome. You're doing great here. What's emerging now for neighborhood forest that feels the most alive or maybe uncertain because it's kind of has a legs of its own. It's kind of going crazy.
Well, what's most exciting is we really are on this path of reaching every child in North America. I mean, if we continue to grow at this rate, we've now reached 1 out of every 100 kids ages K through 5 in America, which is pretty awesome. We're 1% of the way there. I mean, 5-6 years ago, the thought of reaching every child in America was like a ridiculous pipe dream. And now we're maybe 10 years away from reaching every child in America, which would be amazing, amazing. So that's very energizing to know that like this big, hairy, audacious, ridiculous goal from 5-10 years ago is actually within striking distance. Like that feels awesome. And that we've reached 1 out of every 100 kids. We're serving 2% of all schools and libraries. I mean, that's pretty awesome. If we're serving 2%, soon we'll be serving 10% and then 50. And then like that's very exciting because that's what it was about. It's to reach, to grow the reach, to scale. So that's wonderful.
Yep.
The other exciting part is we now have the blueprint to really reach every child through our indoor plant program, our mini food forest program. Like we're not dependent on a child's living situation. And the volunteer engagement, there's so much interest from companies to get their hands dirty. We have the infrastructure and a mechanism to fund it all and to bridge the corporate world with the education world. Like it's all there for the taking. We just have to like execute and create a great culture, stay true to our mission. It's all there. I can see it now. Like it's there. It's gonna happen. Like we have other like we have grand visions, you know. I mean, the trees is just the one part. It's the books of Amazon, you know. We want to touch every facet of society in an ecological way. So I feel like we're just getting started. We're 16 years old, and that in the life of a company or a nonprofit, that we're still very young. In the life of a child, 16 years is nothing, right? So I'm thinking about when we are 25, 30, 40, 50 years old. Like I mean, we can't even imagine, like even the things we're doing today, I wouldn't have imagined just a couple of years ago. So I can't even imagine where we'll be and what we'll be doing. I'm just excited to be on the ride, grateful for
Yeah,
that.
two more questions for you. We're almost out of time. So
Yeah.
first one, if you had to go in a time machine and you had to go back to your guy who was doing this at 11 years and you're at your breaking point and you can see what you say now, other than your wife obviously giving you the best profound feedback ever, what would you tell yourself? And how would you apply it to some people who are sitting in the room, have been working on this for 10 years, 15 years, possibly 20 years, and they're still like, oh my gosh, will I ever see this thing come to fruition?
Well, you won't unless you keep going. You gotta keep going. That's it. I mean, it's a tree. You plant it and you just gotta wait.
That's your advice? You won't get it unless you see it come. Your wife gave much better advice. No, I'm joking. I think it's great. So keep going for everyone. Just keep on it. I love it. We don't need very
Patience and perseverance and purpose and
that's
passion. These are some of the key ingredients.
patience, perseverance, and passion. I love it. I love it. How can we support your work? What could we do? If there's any way that we would want to get involved, follow your work, support you, or just be a champion and just cheer your success.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, those links that I shared, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn. Those are our three main channels you can follow us on, Neighborhood Forest. Would love for you to follow our journey, stay connected. Yeah, I'm just super grateful for your presence, your enthusiasm, your questions. And hopefully I can circle back in a year or two and share that we're now reaching 500,000 kids, each year, something like that.
I love it. I love it. You've been so graceful with your time today. We appreciate you so much. Everyone, we hope you enjoyed this interview. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you all for showing up today. Next week, we have Lynn McDonald, and we're going to be talking about living systems and how she uses governance to facilitate change amongst many, many, many organizations. So thank you all for coming today. As soon as I get the recording up, I'll let you guys all know in the Regeneration Iteration channel. So thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Sage.
Thanks a
everyone.
lot.
Thank you, everyone. You guys can hang around for a few minutes if you have any questions. I do not have a hard stop, so if anyone has any follow-on questions, go ahead and you can come out.
Well, I do have one more question. I was wondering, do you do any kind of community kind of thing? Are you connecting the tree planters with each other in any way, or?
We've thought about having some events. We have had some small events around giving away the trees here in Minneapolis. I know a lot of our schools and libraries are hosting their own events, community events. We're usually very busy leading up to Earth Day with all of the logistics associated with getting the trees to all the sites. But we also want to start hosting our own events where we can bring people together and create more community around what we're doing.
We've been doing a thing for the last few years where we do use Zoom and we get people to do one-on-one breakout rooms.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We call them regeneration pollination. And I've been looking for partners to do these regeneration pollinations with. So if you guys ever get in the mood where you'd want to, it takes, you just kind of announce an hour and
Yes.
I don't know, send it to your lists and then you invite people to come join the
Well,
Zoom.
yeah, we need to do more of that. We want to do more of
And
that.
happy to host one of those with you if you think it would be a fun experiment.
It would be, yeah. Please reach out. I can put my
Okay.
email in here. This is the best way to reach me.
When you guys send trees and deliver trees, do you deliver sort of the logistics of where that tree came from? So if they want to sort of get another tree, they can go back to that whoever that provider was and sort of keep that cycle going.
Well, most providers that we buy from are wholesalers, so they're probably not going to sell one-off trees, So usually we become their source for trees. You know, we do this every year, so they can get trees.
I like David's response though, because that could help promote those local nursery ecosystems as well as what you're providing into that. So
Yeah.
it could allow for another natural connection
Mhm.
that could extend back through you as well. So I think that was a great question, David. I like that.
Mhm. No, I like that. Yeah, that's true. There's always room for more connection and coalescing, and these are great suggestions. I like it.
Oh, this is
What-
awesome. Everyone's just
Yeah.
enjoying
There is a question here in
effervescence.
the thread here. There was something about it would be awesome to bring in aspects of biodiversity, observing local biodiversity, noticing even more visiting as you add. Yeah, absolutely. It would be a great way to educate people on how to care for it. Absolutely, yeah.
Jocelyn, you just came off of mute there. Oh, and I see your helper is talking on there. So go ahead. If you have a question, jump in.
Boy, say hi, Yoshi. Say hi.
Hi, Yoshi.
I just heard, I've been listening to the whole thing. It's just I'm here with my little boy and we're moving around and playing, but I'm listening. And I just wanted to mention two things. One is that it is truly important, that experience, which I had when I was a child, and now my child has planted a tree in the corner of our street. We consulted the community and other children, but at the end they were not very engaged. so it ended up only being my child. But we pass every day and we say hello to the tree, and there's all their apple trees there. So we are. There's another project here in York as well that's edible York, and with the local community. But then there's the Abundance York that goes and harvest the excess. Like right now, I'm eating plums and apples and pears. That's my food at the moment.
Wonderful.
Mostly 80% of my foods are at the moment. But what I wanted to mention was about the nurseries, because in Mexico, in Amatlan, Amatlan de Quetzalcoatl, that is a state of Morelos, Mexico, there's a very interesting project where I lived 5 years. So this was, say, 2000 and I forget. Anyway, a few years ago. Because we had many wildfires, we lost a lot, and we needed to plant trees. And the National Forest Commission used to bring trees from nurseries that were in another area that was hotter, because it changes very fast. So it was an area where the sugar cane grows, and this was a medium. This is a place where you don't get the apples, but it's between the apples and the pears and the sugar cane, that middle point, no? You'll get certain plums and things as well. And in any way, what happened is that the community forest and then some people from the university came, and we used to have I still do a bit on the Facebook for the ecotouristic center. So in collaboration with that, with the money that we would get from the private businesses coming to the ecotouristic center, we would use part for the cooperative for paying all of us, but then as well part to pay for every Friday have the primary school come to do many activities, all sorts of things. And at the end, part of that money as well went for making a local nursery, because we had the biologists come and a lot of young people volunteering. So we said, oh, well, help the elders of the community, the indigenous elders, and they would say, this one, and come over here and you can pick from here. So with that and the scientists together, but very young scientists, they created that, and then there was a small nursery, and it stayed in hands of the primary school kids. So they become the stewards. So once the generation changes, they become stewards. I wanted just to share that because it's a project where it happened naturally, and there was like an inter collaboration of that you can make everyone matter, everyone be useful, and the knowledge and the skills of ability of everyone integrate, and then have people as the local children as the stewards of that.
I think that's
Um,
fantastic.
sorry, it's good my child let me speak because
Yeah,
he's
no, it's
very,
great.
very
I'm
active
glad,
this afternoon. Okay,
I'm
thank
glad
you.
you brought this up. Yeah, I'm glad you brought this up because as we think about how to scale most effectively across North America, I think empowering our youth and our communities to grow their own trees, the ones that are native to their area, the ones that they prefer to proliferate in their area, is a very viable way to go. And that's just something we've started to look at and explore. It would be great to connect and learn a little bit more about what you've done and how you've done it so that we could maybe pilot some of these same approaches with the communities that we're working with, because it doesn't make sense to ship trees around and have them deliver. Like, why not? In a perfect world, because we're giving on average about 80 to 100 trees to each school and library each year. There's no reason why each one of those schools couldn't have a little greenhouse, or even a window in their building where they're growing trees or even plants or fruit or vegetables from seed, and then and we help fund them to do this, and then they give those trees and plants out each year. Like, that's the more sustainable regenerative way to provide a tree to every child, is to grow locally. So I love that idea. It's something we're exploring. We want to pilot. We want to invite our volunteers into this kind of opportunity. It's, again, very much in the seed form, not even a seed, just we're just conceiving how we can do this. So I'm so glad you brought this up because it could be the blueprint for a new way of scaling.
And just for last, here in York, there's 4 enterprises called the From Blueberry Community. And most of them are young people and young adults with learning disabilities. And they make from the compost to all the greenhouses and garden design, hedge cutting, all sorts of gardening work, and all of the stuff from my garden, all of the compost that went into taking all the concrete on my backyard and transforming it into a garden, all comes from that place. So that's another vector, is how working with the young people with learning disabilities that many times become invisible to the society. And they can bring a lot, and that Blueberry has a lot to offer in that as an example as well. I just wanted to mention. Sorry.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Beautiful.
Anyone else? Colleen, Tristan, here's your last chance. Any questions or comments or anything you'd like to share?
Well, I just think it's a marvelous program. I'm really excited for you. And if we can get our Rainbird villages going, we will grow trees for you.
Okay, thank you.
So, yeah.
Wonderful. Appreciate your kind words.
That's awesome. Hey, Tristan.
Hey, sorry, I'm also working at the same time. No, I mean, this is incredible. I listened to that I forget what the podcast is, but it's like How I Built This. So I felt like I was listening to an episode of that. Which is really great because I think a lot of times the inertia, um, you know, as someone who, is working on my own projects, just kind of learning about what didn't work is often even more helpful than what did work, and how you kind of get through those steps. And then the serendipitous things, like, them sharing it on their library and Facebook page. I mean, you can't, those are the things you can't plan for, and just being ready for those opportunities.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
and as a storyteller, who works in media, I'm trying to kind of use this maybe as an analogy of how something it's a little more complicated, and $5 a tree is a little different than, like, if I were to kind of build something this for storytelling, right? Of like, how do I create community centric, maybe even involving the youth, because like a business who wants to tell their story, like, I mean, if you got a youth to go in and interview them, sometimes the responses are much more authentic than if a professional adult goes in, like they kind of, I think people are just more authentic around kids.
Yeah.
But without it feeling like some sort of child labor type of thing.
Yeah.
But I think there's also an opportunity in like the storytelling media aspect of just getting cameras in the hands of kids and having they just have a unique perspective. Yeah. One of my right out of college, or actually in college, I was working for the Boys and Girls Club, and we were doing we were teaching the kids how to documentary filmmaking and community assessment. So they went out and interviewed people in the community and asking kind of like what was missing from the community. And then at the end, the project was they would make a documentary and then they would show it at the university. And it was powerful because I mean, some of these kids had never stepped foot on a university grounds before, and now they were like in an auditorium giving a presentation on a big screen, you know. And I just yeah, there's all sorts of ways to engage youth. And anyway, I loved it, and I was also thinking about how I might relate it to my own field. So.
Yeah, love it, love it. I also put in my LinkedIn info if you guys, any of you want to connect on LinkedIn, stay connected that way. And yeah, if there's any ways I can be helpful in your ventures, I love the How I Built This, because that podcast saved us in 2017 when I was in the dumps basically for a variety with our other business and this, that, and the other. And we went on a long road trip and stumbled on that podcast, and man, I cried, I laughed, and I was like, all of my failures are totally normal. You know, all these legendary entrepreneurs had it way worse than me. Let's keep my
People need to hear that, though. People need to hear that. It's one of the reasons why we're doing this series is there's too many of the talking heads where people just sort of say, hey, look at all the success we have and look how great it is. But you don't hear like, oh, I was almost ready to quit a dozen times. I was almost ready to throw it all in. I just wanted to burn the whole thing or whatever. Like this stuff is hard. People need to hear that. So we don't go in with these lofty expectations as, oh my gosh, we're going to impact so many people and it's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of time. And I think some of the things that you've done so well is the ritualization makes it special in its own regards. Your connection with kids makes it special in its own regards. The simplicity of it with $5 per tree makes it so special and simple on it as well. And then at the same time, you've built all these processes where it's so easy for people to engage with you and you're giving people the whole tools on how they can do those things. So there's a lot of genius in what you've done on here and the way you've structured this. So I'm a big fan. I think we all are. So thanks again, man. It was good hearing from you today.
Thank you for having me. You know, there's a fortune cookie I got many years ago. I think probably well before any of this started, but it was very simple. It said, patience is genius. So you mentioned genius. And I was like, that's really what it is. Most of life, of things blossoming, it's just sticking in with it, being patient. Everything takes time. That's the big lesson for me with Neighborhood Forest. And you know, you got to do it for the love. And if you do focus on the love and patient, really good things will happen eventually. And even if they don't, you did it for the love. So you got that. And that's the most important thing. So thank you. It's been very inspirational. Great questions. Let's stay connected. Sage, thank you so much for having me. I'm appreciative of Alex Pop making the connection. And
Same. This is a lovely one to have, and it's so great. I love the transformation portion of it. I'm still incredibly grateful to your wife for giving you that pep talks that she did so many years ago, and we're so glad to have you here. So thank you so much, everyone. I am going to end this now. And next week, I'll see you all when we interview Lynn and learn how she inspires governance and mindset changes at a big level. So thanks, you, everyone.
Thanks, Sage. Thanks, everyone. Take care.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.